I had a massive epileptic fit when I was 24, and it caused an aneurysm in my brain. And I have a scar on the left-hand side, and Van Gogh had the same one. And I believe that gives me the ideas, the relentless stream of ideas. I've done like this since I was 8. I had this art teacher, and from the age of 8, he called me an artist. He said, "You're an artist." And all we had at school, we didn't have anything like a screen printer or anything. We had a pencil. And so I drew. So my style developed immediately. I went to a public school and it was terrible. There was a paedophile ring on the go, and everything was awful except art. There's the 2 cats. This is interesting because I had the 2 cats drawn and I did it in 15. But about a year ago, I realized there was something wrong with it. And I cut myself and put blood all over them. Now they've had a fight.
Which one's the winner?
Well, I think they both won. I like experimenting a bit like that with the canvases. That's blood and piss. And no colour. I didn't use any. It's the red is blood and the yellow is piss. It took a long time to get the piss. Many layers to get the colour to come through. I'm a conceptual artist. I don't have one medium. I like using found objects, reusing things, so it's sustainable, like the car crashes and things. I made about 8 of them, crashes, yeah, in the scallop shells. Didn't sell any. Didn't know what to do with him, this dead rat that I taxidermed. But I put him in this chest box with a amethyst and a fossil. But suddenly I thought, yeah, he's finished. That's correct now. And I don't know why I know that, but it's finished. I was sitting there in lockdown, right? Every day I'd make a crack pipe out of a Evan Volvic bottle. I'd make the same thing every day. And I was sitting there wondering what art to do, thinking, what shall I paint or what shall I make? And I looked at it, I thought, my God, I make something. I make a sculpture every day. So I took that crack pipe down to the foundry and got them to cast it in bronze. Both my parents are doctors, and all my family are. My sister is as well. I come from a very medical family, and an academic medical family. It's funny, I put the gloves on one day and I thought, God, I've just stuffed it on my dad. I turned into my dad, sitting down and doing the operation. Tattooing is the acceptable face of self-harm. Well, I was out to sort of uglify myself and make myself look more frightening. It's a suit of armor, and it feels like that. That it keeps people. If I open my mouth and talk, they realize I'm a public schoolboy. But if I don't open my mouth and talk, and they just see me, they don't know what the hell is going on. When I did this at the start, 25 years ago, this was really controversial. And I would not be allowed in pubs and things, and it was having a dramatic effect on the public, which is what I wanted at the time. And I used to be the only tattoo bloke, and then suddenly they're everywhere. It's our own fault. We made tattooing look good, so everybody got tattooed. So it's lost a lot of power, and that it used to have. And I'm quite glad about that, because I wouldn't want to have the dramatic effect that I used to. I'm old, and I'm quite glad that the society now likes what I've got. Some of them are a joke, and some of them are perverse, where I've had an idea and thought, no, that spider web on the elbow, I always thought was a stupid tattoo. And I got obsessed with the idea of it. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to get it done, aren't I? And sure enough, I went and got one. And I thought, I'm against it, but I've got it. Why am I doing this? What's happening? It's been in my mind for a while to have a comedy moustache. I did it first, but I fucked it up, and Raf sorted it out for me. I did it with no mirror, and when I was drunk, and I just picked the machine up and I just did it, and it was all bent and wonky and wrong. And in the morning I thought, oh, what the fuck am I going to do? And I had to get Raf to tidy up a bit, and a bit lasered off, because it was like that. I want my skin to be used. And to be made into useful objects. Like my hand could become a lady's gloves. It would look lovely, and then maybe a couple of handbags out of my body, or a load of wallets. The carving of the X in the head was amazing. One night I decided to do it. I carved it with a scalpel and then rubbed ink in afterwards. And the blood, there was so much blood. And then I rubbed the ink, as I said, packed the ink into it, and then went to bed. And in the morning I woke up and I thought, what's happened? And then I remembered, and went and washed my face, and it was there. And it stayed. But I like it because it's shocking. And it's right in the middle of my face. This is interesting here, right? Well, this is where I'm starting to paint freely. The house and the lighting, and I was very pleased with that. This was good. This one took a couple of years again. I did it, but I just couldn't finish the picture of Christ. And then one day I just picked it up and quickly did it, loosely. It's Nelson's arm, the one they cut off. H.N. Nelson, yeah. The saw and the bullet that got him, and it's all in there. When I changed my name, I didn't want another name. I wanted no name. So that's why it was X. Psychologically, it was very difficult to make yourself up, to say, oh, I'm now this. It was a real head fuck. And it's taken years to become comfortable truly with it. It's a burden to be called Mr. X. I wake up in the morning and I have to be Mr. X. I've got to live up to that name. I can't just sort of slack off. I've got to live up to it. He was born Joe Cool X.
Joe's middle name is Cool.
Yeah, his middle name's Cool. That's half my face there. We cast our faces to make face masks for a video to use, but we wanted to use them on stage. The band was me doing performance art and my mate doing the music. We played in nightclubs in London. I'm actually wearing a plastic mask of my own face. A transparent mask of my own face. I felt very good on stage. I realised it was where I wanted to be. At first, I wanted to encourage people to be their own hero. I was saying, I got up from the floor, from where you are, and I'm up here now. I'm the hero. And you can do that too. And then after a while, I realized they didn't want to. They wanted me up there. And they wanted to be down there. I realized, okay, right, we can all get on with it now. We know your place. And I thought my place is up there and their place is down there. And we're happy with that.
We're going all the way tonight, now, here, you and me. Shut your face, listen to me. Who pays who around here? Get in.
We were going to have no name. We were just going to make music for the audience. We were sheep. They're all sheep and they were all on drugs. So it was music for sheep on drugs. And then it just became sheep on drugs. We are sheep and we are on drugs. We got signed in about 1989, 90. And just when Acid House started and techno. And I imagined all these bands coming out. And I imagined what they were going to be like, these crazy bands. But then there were no other bands. It was a faceless scene. The only band I can say that was anything like us was The Prodigy. Drinky poos was what my parents used to say. Oh, should we have some drinky poos? 5 o'clock in the evening. And they'd pour themselves a massive vodka. And when I was an alcoholic drinking a lot, I'd shit blood. And because of hemorrhoids. But I used to think, drinky poo. I think, what's going on? I'm killing myself. I'm dying. And so it's called drinky poos for that reason. I like the way I used just blue. That was a breakthrough. I like the same sort of colours in pet. That's the most expensive shit in the world. £20,000. That's a fetish. Old Trojan cockle. That's a good one there. This was an important one because this was one of the first ones where I just let rip. I used a green outline and I was really impressed with myself with that. I thought, that's a painting, Duncan. You've done a good one there. Parabellum, prepare for war. It's just kitchen implements, even that, I think I'd go in with the cudgel, and then I'd start using things like the corkscrew and the scissors, and I'd go busy. A girl said to me, I met this, I've got tattooed by this bloke, you really like him. And so I took along a skull I drew, and that was Dennis Cockle. And he was just such fun that I kept going back. I'd been tattooed by Dennis for 8 years with my own designs. And Dennis said at the end, no one's ever come with their own designs. And he said, I think you should learn tattooing because I think you'll make a great tattooist. I didn't want to because I didn't want to do pictures off the wall. I didn't want to do flash. I was doing something much stranger to myself. I didn't imagine tattoos to be pretty or to prettify myself. They were to not uglify myself, but it was the power of the tattoo that I was interested in. The reason I got the job at NTU was because the council moved me here. And NTU's was there. Dennis had taught me to tattoo. He showed me how to tattoo, and I tattooed myself extensively. And then started doing a friend, and then friends of friends, and then some person I'd met in the pubs. So I could see it was going to work, that I could tattoo from home and make a thing of it. But then they moved me, the council here, and I thought, fuck, I know people that know Alex. I'm going to have to go in and say, do you mind me tattooing from home? Because in the old days, that would not be on. So I went into interview, and Curly was there. And I saw this bloke who's the same build and same size as me, and tattooed. And I looked at him, I thought, my God, he's done the same thing to himself, but in a different way. And he looked at me and he thought, my God, he's done the same thing to himself, but he thought, wow, his tattoos are much better than mine, because mine are saying something madly. I did a year's apprenticeship. Alex said, you've got to do it. You've got to clean the bog for a year. Otherwise, people won't respect you in the business. And I was really glad for that year, because it got me comfortable with being in the shop. And Alex said, you can have a unit at the back. You can tattoo yourself and members of staff and friends. And in 1 year's time, you tattoo the public. And exactly to that day, I had an appointment, the first appointment. And I'll never forget it, because I was sitting there and it was a Japanese symbol on a girl. But I looked around the room and I thought, God, you poor cow, you could have had Curly, Alex Binney, or Dan Gold. But you got me on my first day. I was struggling, and Alex could see that. And Alex did the most beautiful thing. He walked over and he said to the girl, sorry, I'm I'm an annoying boss. And I just want to check. And he got my machine and he looked at me and he turned up the volume by 2 volts and said, and then gave it back. He said, yeah, everything's fine, and wandered off. Made himself out to be a bit of a wanker. But suddenly the machine worked. It was like, God, he saved me by making a fool of himself. I really appreciated that. One of my colleagues hung himself. People said, oh, we thought if anyone was going to do it, it would be you. And I thought, oh, they've got a bit of a funny opinion of me, because I'm very vital and I'm not suicidal. But it made me think, I've got to do what I want, what I need to do. I've got to follow my instinct and put my foot down and only do what I really want, what I want, this vision I had of tattooing. And I produced a series of flash called New Black Tattoos. And I made a point that I'm not doing colour anymore, and this is the new look. So, the funny thing is it's double-sided for some reason. But that was, made of heroin on foil. I thought, just smoking the stuff and thinking about it and thinking, it just came to me to do it. It's a real winner, isn't it? That, yeah. Just a lump of wood and desperation, some sort of desperation. It's really real. I've always had a drug problem. I've always taken drugs, and I take a drug that stops me, that prevents heroin from working. I used to have a little beard, and the H is instead of the beard, but it stands for heroin. To stop taking drugs, I had to get to the end of it. I had to work through it. I had to want to. You can't just force yourself to not take them. You've got to change and not take them that way. Like, I've had periods, I've been in rehab, and I've had periods of on and off drugs, and I realized that to not take drugs, I need to be comfortable with myself. And because I think drug taking is a waste of time. I used to think it helped, and was my inspiration. But I now realise that actually it's a hindrance. I've sort of worked my way to the end of it. I sat in a room in New Cross, and these two black kids came in to sell us our drugs because they just pulled their chairs together and sat in the middle of the room, balaclavas on, and one pulled out a machete. And I thought, well, it's today then. Today's the day I die. And I didn't feel bad about it. I got so much experience knowing why I took drugs and take them, and why it's a problem, and why it's difficult to stop taking them, and what why the benefits that it gave me initially, and the hindrance, that the problems that it's caused, because I feel I've held myself back. I used to want to kill everybody. My dream was to have a machine gun and to just machine gun crowds of people. I used to dream about that every day. And but I feel very differently. I want to help people now. I had this idea of, the statues that we don't know what to do with, of slavers. I thought we should melt them down and make medals out of them, and present these medals to people that do, call it the hero medal, and present them to people that do a good work for the community. But I like things like the dog and the crack pipe, and him disfigured by war, and that's to do the old paedophile thing. That's called the piano lesson. It says bad man in Latin on it, and that shape, the black figure in the two chairs, that was me, age 7, stuck in a room with that man. I couldn't do it. I stopped going, and I got in so much trouble with my parents for missing piano lessons. But there was no way was I going in the room with that. I'm now able to express myself. I always wanted to be someone else. I hated myself so much when I grew up. I just wanted to be anybody but me. And then I saw a kid, about 11 years old, with a tattoo. It made me realize I could change myself. And I was so desperate to change. And I realized I had the power. When I grew up in the 70s, there was always this bomb threat from the IRA, and we were always worried about bombs. And so I did this bomb, but I put a mobile phone on it to make it a bit more modern. And then a map of it, a bit of England. And as I was doing it, I was thinking about it, and I thought, what's this about, really? And I thought, it's about me, that I am the bomb. I thought, they're all about me. I realised. I thought, oh God, everything I do is about me.